finding a hoodie that lasts through the season can be tough. The American Giant Classic Full Zip Hoodie is made to last a lifetime, so you can count on it year after year. The iconic Classic Full Zip Hoodie is the jacket that started it all for American Giant. Custom heavyweight fleece and side panels for mobility make it the best hoodie ever. Every American Giant piece is made in America and designed to last. No exceptions. The result is durable clothing, like the premium Slub Crew Tee, No BS high-rise pant, and slim roughneck pant that become part of your life. Snag the hoodie that will bring you comfort for life. The American Giant Classic Full Zip. Save 20% off your first order at american-giant.com when you use Staple 20 at checkout.
Weight Watchers now offers access to affordable GLP-1s. It works for members like...
I'm Haley, and I've lost 100 pounds. Weight Watchers has everything I need, from weight loss medications to nutrition support and help with my side effects. It's all in one place.
Weight Watchers handles the insurance for you and offers affordable cash pay options. With our program, our members are losing more weight with expert nutrition and side effect support.
I'm Mike, and I've lost 135 pounds. Weight Watchers prescribing GLP-1 medications. It's been life-changing.
I'm Sharia, and I lost 80 pounds on Weight Watchers. I realized that it would take more than a prescription to lose weight and feel good on a GLP-1.
Better results, expert support, lose more weight, make it last.
I can't imagine doing a GLP-1 without Weight Watchers.
Get started for as low as $25 at weightwatchers.com/GLP1. For over 60 years, we've helped millions of members find what works for them. Now, it's your turn. Weight Watchers. Watch it work.
Now we've got to turn our attention to this, and you can fill in the blank with what you did. Kids, career, dealing with aging parents, or with hobbies, or travel, or whatever it is. And so you hit the pause button thinking you can pause the relationship and you will one day come back to it. And that's the lie.
Oh, it's such a lie.
Welcome to the Baucom Life Podcast, where fitness, mindset, and real talk collide. This isn't just about workouts. It's about transforming your body, mind, and life. Get ready for unfiltered conversations, expert advice, and the motivation you need to level up in every way. Hey everyone, welcome to the Baucom Life Podcast. I am Melissa Vogel, your host. Welcome to the show. Oh, we are hitting a good topic today. I'm so excited to just keep talking about change. Keep pushing you guys to look at change and putting in effort and making connections in all areas of your life. That's the whole point of this show. And if you guys go back, which I always invite you to do, go back, listen to all of the episodes, really start to fill your cup and really see all the different areas that I'm talking about where change can happen with your relationship, with your mindset, with your food, with your working out, with your attitude and your belief about yourself, all of it. So change is just like the big theme that I'm pushing here. And another theme too, we're doing this in my group right now, and our entire January is all about focusing on not just surviving, thriving, not surviving, because many of us in 2025 probably got really stuck into just pure survival mode, especially near the end there. A lot of people were just like, I just need to survive this year. I just need to get through it. Or I just survived that entire year. And that is such like, it's only a short-term thing, right? If you are in survival mode long-term, it can be detrimental to your health. It can be very, very damaging. And in order to come out of that, things need to change. Again, all areas of life. And we can't just focus on one area and not another. We can't just focus on our relationship and not our health and wellness. And you can't just focus on your health and wellness and not your relationship or your food, right? You can't just go to the gym and keep eating like crap. And you can't just change your nutrition and not go to the gym and put on muscle. Everything has to work together. So that's why all the different topics on this show, they can range and vary to so many different things, because in the end, it all comes together and boils down to one thing, and that's change and effort. And today's episode, I'm kind of piggybacking off of a couple episodes where we had Ralph Brewer on, and we started talking about relationship and men's health and how men think and feel and cheating and affairs. And I wanted to kind of piggyback off that with today's episode and diving into marriage to help prevent getting to that part. And how can we create the change in our marriage? Because I know all of you, I'm just going to say all of you, are creating change with your health and fitness right now. So statistically speaking, the majority of our listeners to this podcast are married. Most of you are married, which is crazy because I'm not even married, but my listeners are married. And if you're not married and you're in a relationship, you're still going to benefit from this. So please listen. And if you guys have newly married couples in your lives, like say you have grandkids that, or kids that have gotten married, and they're on year 2 or 3 or whatever, have them listen to this episode so they don't lose these connection pieces that we're talking about. But today we have Dr. Lee Baucom on, and he is the world's first thrivologist. And we know this because he invented the term. And over the course of his career, Lee has helped individuals and couples thrive. And one particular focus has been helping people in a struggling marriage and turn their relationship into a thriving, loving relationship. He's the author of 7+ books. He's the host of 2 podcasts. His Save the Marriage podcast has been downloaded over 5 million times. He also has the Thrivology podcast. He also recently released his Unpause app to help people take their marriage off pause and find connection again. This is a really, really good episode. At one point, you guys, I was speechless. You know me, I don't shut up. And I literally was listening to Dr. Lee and I'm like, jaw-dropping moment. I was like, holy crap, I never looked at that part. He talks about how it's not a communication problem, it's a connection problem. And he talks about the 3 different ways that we need to connect and how we connect and, just the physical, emotional, and spiritual. And we hear that like, oh, connect, physical, spiritual, emotional. But he goes into it. Oh my God, you guys, it makes so much sense. I talk a lot about my marriage, not in a bad way. I never want to talk about it in a bad way, but I do talk a lot about my marriage on this episode a little bit because I can see where things went wrong now. And I'm 5 years plus, out of that marriage. But I don't know, like what would happen if I would have had the tools that we're providing with you today? And, I would have heard an episode like this. But these levels of connection are so important. It's not a communication problem. It's a connection problem. Mine just blown. So this is a good one, you guys. I want you to take this in to help your relationship, pass it on, help other people with their relationship, learn how to stay connected. And remember, we talk about this near the end, but it's about putting in the effort, not work. And when you look at something that way, it can change everything. It's not about you working harder, doing more work. It's about just putting in effort the things that matter. And your relationship and your marriage, your health, your fitness, everything does matter. So we put all of the links in the show notes for you guys to connect with Dr. Lee. His website is savethemarriage.com/podcast. And that's where you can find his app, the Unpause app, to help your marriage if you do feel like it is paused and you push that pause button. So go to the show notes. And then as always, if you're looking to do a discovery call, you want to get moving, if you're interested in working one-on-one, if you want to just do like a coaching call, you can also do that. That might be an option for you. Just like, no, I need help like just organizing this and getting on track. That's all I need. That's an option for you. Or maybe you're a females only. Sorry, guys, get into the group, Busy to Bomb. Maybe this is your year to actually get in there and join and work with my community on becoming healthier, stronger, thriving in your mindset, your self-love, your confidence, all of it. So go to the show notes. We always have goodies there for you. All right, everyone, enjoy the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Bomb Life podcast. Today we have Dr. Lee Baucom on. Welcome to the show, Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm so glad to be here.
I am thrilled to have you. Now, we have been diving into relationships since the beginning of this podcast. I mean, we have talked about marriage and dating and divorce and trying to save it, cheating, affairs. Can you come back from that? Like, we've covered a lot. And I think it's a topic because our listeners, like, it's just the age that we're all at. Like, we're either all married or they're divorced or they're dating, and I just think it's a topic that we cannot get enough education on and to hear from experts like you.
Well, I mean, relationships are such a part of life, especially and how important they are. And the primary relationship in adulthood is typically a committed relationship for people. I mean, they have friends that are close, but that's the one, it changes so much. So, of course, it's going to be a topic. And I think part of the reason is because most of us don't have much education in what it takes to have a successful marriage before they get started. So you're doing kind of on-the-job training, which means you make mistakes.
I know. Oh, I had like all my training was on the job training and it didn't work well. My listeners know, like I was married for 17 years and that marriage came apart. God, I think I've been divorced 5 years now. So everything that you're saying today, that we talk about today, like would have been so useful back then. I don't know. I think that it ended the way it was supposed to. But had I had your knowledge and your books then, man, Dr. Lee, I don't know. It's hard to say for me.
Well, you can't rewrite, you move forward.
Yeah. And I know I was exactly where I was supposed to be and I am right now and stuff, but I'll be asking you questions based on my experience in marriage too, because I don't want divorce for anyone. Like I have said this before, like there's nothing like being married to the parent of your child or like being together and in a relationship, and divorce is terrible. So when I saw your information, I was like, yes, get him on, because if we can prevent this and two people can live together and like stick to their vows and heal, yeah, let's do that. I want to do that and help everyone else because I've been through it. I've been to hell and back and I don't want that for anyone.
Yeah, for sure.
So how did you get into this? I'm really curious how relationships and your, what we call, you made up the term, a thrivologist.
Yeah.
How did this become like what you do and what you focus on?
So, when I was a teenager, I wasn't in the popular crowd. I wasn't the popular guy, but I was the confident. So people would come to me to tell me their struggles, their difficult things. So somewhere along the way, I went, maybe that's my skill point. Maybe that's just my natural gift. And so in college, I decided that I would pursue work as a counselor, as a therapist. And that meant I had to go to grad school. And in grad school, I got a lot of training in individual work, but I found myself drawn to working with couples and with family. So kind of a systems approach. Okay. And I wouldn't have told you at the time why that was, but I can tell you looking back. My parents are happily married. They're in their 80s, happily married. My grandparents lived their lives happily married until one of them died. But I had an uncle that, I don't know, 5 or 6 divorces. We're not sure because we're not sure if one was actually a marriage or not. And so he changed the whole average for the rest of us. None of the rest of the family needs to get divorced because he's already set, the standard for all of us. And then I've got an aunt who, before she died, was married 3 times and another several times.
Okay.
And I watched the devastation. I have some cousins, I don't even know where they are. Now, there are better ways of divorcing, and it wasn't done well in these situations. And so the families exploded out. And I realized looking back that I watched my grandparents who were watching their kids in pain. And I watched my parents with siblings in pain. And I watched my cousins in pain and my aunts and uncle in pain, and realized, that's a tough place to be, especially if you don't know how to be married, much less how to get divorced. There's a lot of pain involved.
Yeah, that's very true. So being able to see and witness all of that, it changed your mind. It probably didn't change your mind. It developed the path of like, wow, how can I avoid that and help others to avoid that?
And so the rest of the story of that, so I go do this training, ready to be marriage therapist, and then I start really diving into what's helping couples. In the midst of training, I'm sitting there going, why does this not seem to be effective? So part of that was going, if I want to help couples, I got to figure out ways that actually help couples. Most people think that therapy is the answer, and therapy success rates are pretty dismal.
Are they for couples and trying to save a marriage?
Okay, so there's not as much recent research. So I'm going back a little bit, but the more recent research is that about half the couples who go to marital therapy still divorce. That's not different than the general population.
That's not good.
And only 10 to 15% report that there has been any significant change. So here's how I put it in context for people, because, people immediately say, we've got a marriage problem, let's go get therapy. So, and I'm not saying there aren't good therapists and there aren't couples who get help in therapy, but let's look at the statistics. If you go to a doctor and a doctor says, hey, you need this procedure, and then the doctor says, by the way, half the people who have this procedure die, and only 10 to 15% are going to improve, you're probably going to be a little resistant to having that particular procedure. And that's what we're talking about. I mean, that's the statistics.
Yeah, that's scary, because no way would I ever jump into that. 50% chance of death? No, thanks.
Right. And you're going to live with a 50-50 chance anyway.
Exactly.
So there are some reasons for that. And again, let me just say, I've met some really good therapists.
Yes.
And I've talked to couples who have had success. And so many people say, well, that's not true for me. And I'm like, okay, that's an anecdote, right? That worked for you. But statistically speaking, looking across a broad spectrum, and there are a couple of reasons why. One is that therapists are trained and then they can kind of choose what kind of therapy they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of therapists find themselves seeing couples and they go, oh, I'm a couples therapist, but they don't have an orientation around that. So they have a theory problem and an orientation problem. They're working with two individuals as far as their training goes. The second is that there is often a default setting on communication, and that's a false little process to go, oh, let's get better at communicating. That's not going to help the process. And we can talk about why that is too.
Okay.
Third thing is when you drag a spouse into therapy, you create a resistant spouse, not a spouse who wants to do more. And say there a lot of times someone will say, I see a problem, so I'm going to drag my spouse into therapy. Let's go to therapy. And the spouse goes, I don't want to, but let's go to therapy. So you end up in therapy defending your position and wanting the therapist to do the work of bringing you over to this. And that leads to this other piece of therapy orientation, which is that the therapist is supposed to be neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And my belief, especially as a certain area like working on the marriage, you should be pro success in that area. If I go to the doctor and my arm is hanging this way and they look at it and go, yeah, it's broken. You want to do something about that or you're good with it? I don't want that. I want someone who goes, hey, we can get you back to where you need to be. Or if not, let's see what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads to this final piece that often creates a problem. So you drag your spouse in, the spouse says, nothing can help our marriage. And the therapist goes, well, nothing can help your marriage. So what do we do? And that's where I often see that the result is those statistics we talked about.
Okay. So now that you have seen all that and you're aware of all this, and what did you decide to do? What makes you different?
So I spent a lot of time looking for what then does matter. And I'm not the only one out there doing that, right? There are others who go, okay, that's not working. Let's find a different approach. But I did do a lot of research and testing and following up with couples to see what was working. And one of the big shifts I made was this is not a communication problem with rare exception. So typically, a couple would come in and say, we're not communicating well, so you need to teach us communication skills. And I would sit there and just politely listen to them for, 20, 30, 35 minutes and go, what's interesting? I've understood every word you said. I've understood what you meant behind it. You got your message across.
Right.
It's
You
not
communicated clearly.
The communication's not the problem,
Mm-hmm.
but what you're communicating might be. And so I began to realize that the real root of the problem is connection or lack of connection.
Yeah.
And that's where we get ourselves into trouble.
Oh, okay. I need to find a way to make that the title of this podcast, the word connection. Because right when you said that, I'm like, oh, that is so true. And it took me back, honestly, to my previous marriage. That connection, that was the biggest piece for us that was lost, was that connection part.
How did it get lost?
I think after kids, building career, kids.
You're just naming what I consider to be the major cause of marital problems, and that is the pause button.
Yeah, you use that term, the pause button, a lot. I need to know more about this pause button because I think it was hit.
Yeah. So the reason I use it is because it's so endemic. So let's just kind of track through. And I'm going to be speaking broadly about what happens in relationships.
Okay.
It is the possibility that somebody finds themselves with a toxic person. There is something truly psychologically toxic there.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. We're talking, I hate to make it common, ordinary, everyday, run of the mill, but that we're talking about of typical what happens in a marriage. So you fall in love. And when you're falling in love, you put a lot of energy into this process. You put your energy, your time, your thoughts, all of that into building this relationship. And at some point you go, hey, let's make this permanent. And you go for a 30, 45 minute, maybe 50-minute little service. And you walk out going, oh, now we're in this for life. And not too much more training than that. You go back to life, and then life comes at you. And you hit the pause button because you say, okay, we've got this. Now we've got to turn our attention to this. And you can fill in the blank with what you did, kids, career, dealing with aging parents, or with hobbies or travel or whatever it is. And so you hit the pause button thinking you can pause the relationship and you will one day come back to it. And that's the lie.
Oh, it's such a lie.
So when I think about that, all the science fiction movies, where they're on board and they're going to the distant planet and they go into their pod, they go to sleep, suspended animation, they fly away 300 years later, they hit the button and they wake up and everything is right where they were. And that doesn't happen in relationships. Relationships are either growing and expanding or they're shrinking and dying. That's the only two options.
Yeah,
There's no
one or the other. When you were saying like movie in the pod, I'm sorry, I had to add this in. It reminds me of like all the rom-coms out there that like you watch this turmoil of them trying to like figure out how to get together and, and then destiny and finally, everything they went through and they're together and then they get married or like whatever and then happily ever after. And then
they stop.
They stop. And then we think like, oh, happily ever after. We don't see the after part. And I think that messes with our head so much too,
Yeah.
I had to add that because it drives me nuts. And my girls watch that. I have young girls and they watch that. And I'm like, you guys know that's not reality, right? Like everyone powwow. Come on, we need to talk about this now.
Yeah, I mean, it's what we want in reality. Once you do that, once you get that connection, it's there. And so I don't know anybody that I talk to who doesn't know the statistics on marital success. It's just so common in our culture. And yet people sign up for it every day. They have this optimism that they have beat it. And so when a prior position, there were 7 places where you could get married, different houses of worship that you could get married. And if you were in any of those 7, you came to my office for 3 sessions, had to, mandatory. And so I got to hear a lot of stories from people about, what they thought was going to happen and what had happened to them. Mm-hmm. And without exception, all of them felt like they had already beat the statistics because they actually had love. They knew people who had divorced, but they were wrong. They have the love that will carry them through. And I'm like, that's not the love right now that's going to carry you through. There's some other pieces. And some of those couples hit the pause button and came back and said, you were right. Now we're struggling. So
how long did it take for you to see like, can you remember?
So, yeah, unfortunately, I was tracking things pretty carefully then. Yeah. And so it was about 3 years. And that's early warning. And so what I believed my role was in those premarital counseling sessions, when they had already convinced themselves that they had it done, they were not, I don't need to listen to this guy. I just have to do this to get through. And so I would say, okay, when you have a problem, let's do a 10,000 mile checkup. Come back in. Let's talk. If you're finding yourself, and I would give them some symptoms. If this happens, if you find yourself going, what am I doing here? If you find yourself distracted, if you find yourself no longer having those deeper conversations, you need to pause and ask, are we okay? Are we at the beginning of some problems? So they would come in earlier than general, but still they were struggling even at that point. At 3 years, a lot of couples have started a family, really gotten into their careers, begun to do some bigger things. And that's where that pause button gets hit. So 3 years, I would love if everybody who had a marital issue came to see me 3 years of that rather than 15 years or 18 years or 20 years or now. I mean, I see people who are the gray divorce, they get late in life going, wait, you're retiring. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's very true. And a big thing for me, I noticed, because now I can look back on it and I can see things, and I can identify things, which is great because then I can help others. But it was like when the kids really started to leave that baby young age where they needed me like all the time. And they were kind of more like school, sports. I'm still a mom and busy, but like it wasn't that toddler little phase. And now everyone was in school. And I started to realize like how much of my love and attention went to them and came from them too. And I wasn't getting in my marriage. And I was like, that's when I had this big like awakening and was like, we're in trouble. I'm in trouble. Like I was so preoccupied with the kids. I didn't even realize that this massive pause button was on my marriage. I mean, I think I did, but I didn't because, kids gotta.
Well, and so you just pointed to one of the underlying pieces. You were getting something from them.
Yes.
And what that was connection, the feeling of being connected to a human. Yeah. And humans are deeply wired for that need for connection. They've done studies that the overarching longevity strategy is having a close relationship or having close relationships, being in connection with other people. When they do, sure, it helps to be in shape and to eat well and all those things, but having intimate connections with people is what sustains us and keeps us healthy. And so we're going to find it And it's the question is, do we keep that in the marriage, or are we finding it through kids or being invested in jobs and coworkers or in colleagues at the gym or in affairs, or where are we going to find it? We're going to find connection. And the problem is it happens at such a subconscious level that you find yourself pulled into where connection is going to happen.
I'm like speechless, and I'm never speechless. Like, seriously, I never really thought of it that way before.
Yeah. So let me drill down a little bit and see if this connects some pieces too. I think there are 3 levels.
After the holidays, there's so much to clean up and get ready for the coming year. This leaves me exhausted and a lot of things falling off my to-do list. It's time to lock in, and Omaha Steaks delivers everything you crave to reset after the holidays. An order from them means having high-quality Omaha steaks on hand at all times. I'm a big meat lover myself, and I always go with medium rare. But there's also plenty of poultry and other options available. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. A family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. Let Omaha Steaks deliver high-quality proteins right to your door. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their end-of-season sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code YUM at checkout. That's OMAHA steaks.com, promo code YUM. Terms apply. See site for details. Go to www.omahasteaks.com to get 50% off site-wide during their end-of-season sale. And use promo code YUM at checkout for an extra $35 off. Minimum purchase may apply. Thanks to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring us.
Weight Watchers now offers access to affordable GLP-1s.
Weight Watchers has everything I need, from weight loss medications to nutrition support and help with my side effects.
With our program, our members are losing more weight with expert nutrition and side effect support.
Weight Watchers prescribing GLP-1 medications, it's been life-changing.
Better results, expert support, lose more weight, make it last. Get started today for as low as $25 at WeightWatchers.com.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. Let's start 2026 with a hard truth. There's no perfect time to build the future you secretly dream of, and there's no time to waste. With support from a Talkspace therapist, you can make this the year you bravely go out and grab what you need from life, whether that's outer rewards or inner peace. Just go to Talkspace.com to be matched with a licensed online therapist. You can start messaging with your therapist right away and schedule live virtual sessions over video, audio, or chat. Your Talkspace therapist can help you create personalized strategies for making the changes and achieving the goals most important to you. Talkspace accepts most insurance with an average copay of $15, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com and save $80 with code SPACE80. That's SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
There are these 3 levels of connections that humans need and look for. And marriage is designed well for this. But if it's not there, you're going to find it, right?
Okay.
So physical, emotional, and spiritual. Physical connection is loving touch. So and when I say that and people are talking about marriage, they're like, oh, you're talking about sex. Well, yes and no. Yes, that is part of that. But it also is hugs and holding hands and kisses and back rubs and patting each other and just being physically connected. We do a lot of that with kids, hugging kids and them hugging us. So we're getting that physical connection. That is something that we share with most warm-blooded creatures, that need for connection. So that's nonverbal. Well, it's impossible to just verbally, physically connect with someone. There's a physical connection that's there, right? And so that is a deep need that is wired into us. We know what happened. There's some pretty ugly psychological experiments they did of seeing what happens when you don't allow monkeys to be held by their mothers.
Oh my God,
and
I've seen that.
That's an ugly point. And that thing would cuddle up to warmth rather than food and starve itself to death when they tried it with baby monkeys. And because we just need that nurture, right? Well, that doesn't change. It changes in how it happens, but it doesn't change in the need of that happening as an adult. So that part of us continues on. And sure, there are other places. I did jujitsu for a number of years before we moved. And you talk about a place where so physical connection, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of my theories is payoff of some of that was that you were getting some of that connection because people were like, oh, but you're fighting. And I'm like, nah, because all I did was tap, tap. And they're like, oh, let's start again.
Right.
It was fighting, but it wasn't fighting. And so there's a lot of physical contact that I think there is a piece of that. And I watch how when people are coming to the gym over and over, that there is a deeper level to what they're getting out of that experience.
Oh yeah, that's feeding it big time. And the community and like, oh, good job, or like, oh wow, thank you for help. Like that's such connection.
Yeah. It's not every day you can just wrap your legs and arms around somebody and hold them down and everybody go, good for you.
Right? Ooh, good point. Hey, Bomb Life fam, I have a question for you. Are you the kind of person who crushes it at work, shows up for your family, checks off every to-do list, but when it comes to your fitness, your energy, and your confidence, it feels like something's missing? You might be doing the workouts, listening to all the right podcasts. I mean, you are listening to this one. But deep down, you know you're just kind of going through the motions and you're done playing small in this area of life. That's exactly why I created Fit Mind Coaching, my private one-on-one program for high-achieving women and men who are ready to level up. This isn't just another fitness plan. This is about building the body and the mindset to match the life you're working so damn hard for. Because success in business means nothing if you're hiding in hoodies, avoiding mirrors, or dragging through your day with zero energy, or showing up on Zoom meetings feeling good from the chest up, but praying no one ever sees what's going on below the screen. We're talking about fat loss, muscle building, and real confidence that bleeds into every area of your life, your boardroom, your bedroom, and your parenting. You want it all? Good. You should have it all. Let's go. Click the link in the show notes and book your free call with me today. Let's build the strongest, most confident version of you inside and out. You're ready for more, and I'm ready to show you how. Back to the show. Okay, quick question about the physical part while you're talking. Do some people have more of a need, like, you know, the whole love language thing and like mine is physical touch, or are some people just wired for a more strong need for that part of the connection?
I think there are some that reassure. So I'm a touch person, which maybe explains why jujitsu was my choice. I'm a touch person. So yes, I do have, but it's not that other people might not want the touch as much as it doesn't mean the same. So if I need reassurance of someone being there, them patting me on the back is more important than handing me a gift or doing something for me.
Okay.
But the other person still needs that physical. Now, there are clearly some differences with like a neurodivergent population that may have a harder time. They're overwhelmed with the connection, but that doesn't mean they don't need it. It's just harder to process. So we're pretty sure that that is just built into the human psyche, that when that happens, there is a release of hormones that happens automatically in that moment. So it is built into us. It's wired into us.
Okay. I want to hear the other two for sure, but
yeah.
I think physical is so important. And as you're talking, it just reminds me so much of like how many relationships are lacking this. And I know like, because I work very intimate and very like deep with my clients. And even though we're talking about health and fitness and lifting and putting on muscle and losing fat, like we said in the beginning of this podcast, relationships are so important and they're directly related to people's health and fitness journey. So we dive into their sex life and their connection, like what's going on. And I can't tell you, Dr. Lee, how many people like young, like in their 40s, not having sex anymore. And my one thing is like, what makes you different than a roommate? You know, and they are missing that whole connection piece with their significant other. I just want you to say out loud so the people in the back can hear how important it is to have this part in a marriage.
Yeah. I mean, so sex is obviously a layer that theoretically is in a marriage if you've committed to that. But the depth of that, I mean, there is no way to be closer to someone in that way, which is also why it feels so risky for a lot of people who are not in a connected relationship. But that need for connection goes all the way back to being an infant and being held because you needed the safety. And then you just grow into different versions of that where it's more a partnership rather than like a parental piece. This doesn't go away. It's just so deeply wired into us. That is probably the most in our evolutionary pool, deeply placed of these levels of connection because it goes pre-verbal.
I worry about the people because I've been there. I was that person. I am a touch person too. Shocker. Jiu-jitsu was my thing too. But I worry about the people that just aren't getting it and they don't have it. And I'm like, even if it's not sex of just like cuddling together, like where is that you together time? But that pause button is hit so hard right now. They're just missing it. So I'm glad that we're covering this and like really emphasizing the part of this connection piece. This is important. What are the other two? What's the second one?
Yeah, so let's add on. Let's make it more painful, right?
Right.
So the next level is where we cross. It's more verbal, but it's not all verbal, and that is emotional connection. An emotional connection is feeling like somebody gets you. And it's also feeling like you're supporting each other. Like I get my wife, she gets me. There's a basic level of that where, she laughs at my joke for whatever reason, she finds that funny. And I'm like, okay, she gets me. She gets my humor and vice versa. And then there is that level of emotional connection when you've had a hard day or a struggle or a celebration where they can accept that and be there with you, right? They don't have to feel the pain, but to be there with you in that moment. That's verbal, not entirely. I mean, if I say to my wife, man, I just had a really hard time, and she goes, oh, it's verbal, barely, but it's also this nonverbal, she's just looking at me, right? And so that crosses over where there are words. It's nonverbal, it's also verbal.
Okay.
And so those are pieces where I often see people that like, my spouse doesn't get me. My spouse doesn't get me. I don't feel supported. That's the emotional connection that's now been suspended. The third layer, most people miss that it's there, and that's the spiritual connection. And as soon as I say that, people are like, oh, you're talking about religion. No, but yes, because religion is about what's important to us, what our values are. And that is something that if somebody has a religious orientation, sharing that and understanding each other, not necessarily agreeing, but understanding that is an important part of that. But this is about where your dreams, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, where all of that resides, your core values, all of that is in this spiritual connection where you share it. So back to those couples who came through my office before they got married, they told me this story of when they fell in love that almost always included the story of having this conversation that started some evening and stretched into the wee early morning hours where they talked about their life, where they wanted to go in life, what their family was like, what values they hold. And I heard it so often, I was like, man, I remember that. I remember that conversation. We started talking about, 10 o'clock at night after having ice cream, and we finished about 3 or 4 in the morning, just having this deep conversation where I went, we're on this trajectory that matches, and we understand common value base, and our families had a lot of the same things. So we were able to see something that we don't share. I mean, I didn't have that conversation with other people. That was a conversation that length that was only with this person I fell in love with. And I realized that was so common. And yet people stop having those conversations as if all of that stuff is done. And they don't notice the fact that our values, our beliefs, they evolve over time. They may not go away, but they certainly evolve and change. And if we don't stay connected on that level, we're missing the most vulnerable depth level of what exists for all of us, right? And that is a fully verbal piece. So we've gone from nonverbal to nonverbal and verbal to verbal.
Right.
You can't express that stuff without saying it. So that's the 3 levels that all get paused. One level is often paused so far back that they didn't even think that that conversation was a separate level of connection.
What if couples are really good on 2 of the levels, but not the third? What if I can picture people right now that would say like, oh my God, no, we have deep conversation all the time. We talk all the time. He totally gets me. Like, we have that emotional there. And I feel like the spiritual and our core values are lining up and we're still, blah, but they're missing the physical. Or, another one. What do you do with that? Or like, is that equally as scary and detrimental to the marriage and relationship?
Well, so there are plenty of relationships where 1 or 2 or even 3 are missing. And sometimes, if both people are like, you know what, we're good with getting each other and having these spiritual connections and we don't have the physical and we're happy with that, that's a choice.
Yeah.
But we're really talking about the fact that when one of those is missing and someone's going, this is actually painful, that I don't have that physical connection, or I don't have that emotional connection, or I didn't even know I was supposed to have the spiritual connection. This is painful. That pain registers first as the disconnection, but that pain is hurt, and hurt often comes out as anger. And that's where we have this disconnection. That the danger of the disconnection is that we then begin to resent the other person. We begin to disregard the other person.
That's what I was going to say, that R word. Does resentment then follow in?
Yeah. And so I hear a lot of people are like, I don't know why I'm so angry with my spouse. And so anger is a secondary emotion.
Yes.
It's not a primary emotion. It's secondary, and it's secondary to hurt, fear, or threat. That's when we get angry, hurt, fear, or threat. If you don't address the anger, it kind of poisons the system and becomes resentment.
Right.
So for me, when I'm angry and I am doing well, I'm rested and everything else, I can go, okay, what's feeling threatened? What's feeling hurt? What's the fear about? And that helps me to pull it back to what's going on inside of me rather than what do I project. I've had plenty of people in my office trying to express their hurt, and their spouse is going, why are you always angry? They don't see the hurt. And what do we do when somebody's angry with us?
We defend.
Respond with anger.
Yeah. We defend. We're angry. Yep. Right back at them. Oh my God. Okay. I'm sure we have people listening. I always try to act as the listener. I'm sure people are listening to this and they're going, oh my God, this is it. I feel like they're talking about me and my marriage or my relationship right now. What do they do? I mean, I'm sure someone's listening going, what do I do with this now? Now that I know this, we're missing this connection. What do we say to the listener right now that's kind of going, okay, great. Now what?
Yeah. Thanks for hurting.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Hold that mirror up. That's not fun. So this is the one where a lot of people go, well, there's nothing I can do because my spouse isn't interested. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is when you realize, when you come out of suspended animation and you're like, oh crap, we're in trouble, right? So one person often gets that earlier than the other. The other person is like, we're fine. It's just a stage we're going through. We'll get back on track. And then there are times when the other person's like, I'm already checked out. I'm finding my connection over here.
Yeah.
So there are two levels of that. When the other one person goes, oh gosh, we need to work on this. So then I have people who come to me and say, well, what can I do? Because, it takes two to tango. My response is, it does take two to tango, but you're already dancing. The dance is already going on. And every dance starts with one person asking, and somebody can change the steps of a dance. So if you're disconnected, what are you trying to get back to? Connection. But you can't do it. So the other tendency people have, one is they go, there's nothing can be done. I'm hopeless. The other is they go, well, then I'm going to chase my spouse down and make them connect. And when you are chasing, so I call it the chaser spacer, right? Whoever is chasing, the other person going, I'm not so sure about this, and they take off running. So you have to figure out how to be a pacer, how to slow that process down and create invitations of connection. So sometimes it feels a lot smaller than you want it to be. This is when people often go, well, I'm going to make us have a date night, or I'm going to go on a big romantic trip, or we will, or I'm going to buy this big present that they'll recognize how important they are. And the relationship doesn't have enough connection to hold that. So sometimes it's finding smaller places. It usually starts with one going, would you be interested in working on this? And if the other says, yes, let's work on it, that's great.
Great.
That's easy.
What if the other doesn't?
Then you can still work on building the connection.
Okay.
So I talk about there are 3 C's of this process. One is connecting. 2 is changing, which changing is what your podcast has been about. How do people make changes in their life, right? So you're going to be well acquainted with, what do I need to do to create better systems, to be a better who I need to be. And so when I say that, people are like, you think something's wrong with me. No, but I do know this. Most people get into adulthood having frozen into a place of development, having gotten to this place where the music they like, the food they like, the whatever they like is frozen in place. And then one day often go, it's not enough. And so they're trying to find different ways, maybe get back into some other things. That's the change we're talking about, becoming a better person. Last one is create. It's creating a new path. So I have another little theory that marriages that are successful have created a sense of being a we, like we are in this together. We're a team. And if you're on a team, you're trying to bring your best self, that's the change part, into that. But you're also, the way you play as a team is by being connected connected together and saying, we get each other, we're in this together, let's support each other, let's move forward. One person can start those 3C process. You can start connecting with a spouse. Okay. Doing small things. And those small things tend to grow. Changing yourself, you always get to choose that path.
Right.
Creating a new path for yourself or in terms of the relationship is often an internal part. Like, do I think of us in money or about parenting and things like that? So those two are in your mental choices, and the connection is making those small little gestures.
I like that. And it almost, the way you describe it almost like takes the pressure off of someone of like, I got to create the change. I got to be the one to lead us. I got to do this. Like, I think, again, using my own experience of what I had in marriage that did not work out, I think if I would have had ways to look at it of like, we're just going to reconnect. You don't have to do the work, Melissa. And that's how I looked at it. I looked at it as like, I had to do the work. Like, that was a tough way to look at it too. And when people would ask what happened, or like, and I mean like in therapy or something, when I would open up, one of the biggest things I always said is like, I felt like I emotionally carried the relationship. We didn't talk or connect or do anything unless I started and initiated it in that war on me. And I felt like I carried the relationship. I don't know. I just wonder if I would have been able to look at it a different way and just would have connected on different levels, if that would have taken us on a different path.
One of the things that often happens in a crisis is people get mono-focused on that crisis. And then it does become overwhelming and it feels like it's work. I'd suggest that people, instead of going, oh gosh, I got to do this work, is to say effort, effort. And that's true in anything.
Yes.
I could say, and I've heard people say, if this was meant to be, it wouldn't be so hard. It was meant to be. And I'm like, okay, well, if it was meant to be, I'd have a bicep. I wouldn't have to do anything for that. I'd just be there.
Right.
If it was meant to be, they'd give me my degrees. I wouldn't have to earn them. I wouldn't have to worry about getting, a promotion. It would just happen. It's effort. And so when we put it almost in one way, if we say, well, that's work doesn't sound fun. Effort, I'm putting effort into anything that I find to be important.
Yes.
But that does change it a little bit, but to recognize that what you're looking for are the small places you can turn toward and looking for those and not letting that become your entire life. So I hear people, they'll contact me and say, I've listened to every episode of your podcast. I'm like, I don't listen to myself that much. They've read every book and I've done everything. I'm like, what else are you doing in life? That's it. That's tough. That's overwhelming for a spouse, and it's not helpful for you. So you've got to make sure that you keep the growing going and look for the opportunities of that bridge.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's where like I come into play too with like health and fitness and working out and making sure your nutrition's on point, because
Absolutely.
That's all going to fuel your effort and your ability to have the energy, and desire to put that effort in.
And whenever there's a crisis, the first thing that most people put away is self-care.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing they should hold on to.
It's so crazy. I'm so glad you said that. I see that all the time. When things get hard, people want to quit and stop. Well, I just need to do that, but I'll come back later. No, you won't. No, you won't. That pause button is so dangerous in every area of your life. But, people get overwhelmed and they don't talk and then they lose all the connection. I mean, all this connection that you're talking about too, and having that connection, I can relate to that so much in the fitness world as well. Like we talked about before, like there's so much more of a need than just going to do a jiu-jitsu class. There's so much, not need, but so much that it's, filling your bucket full of. And that connection piece, like my brain is just spinning as you're talking about like all the connection, because like I get all that from the gym and I'm trying to help other people get that too. And people ask me all the time, they're like, I just can't fall in love with working out. Like, how do you love going to the gym? And I'm like, who said I love going to the gym? Like, who said I love going and doing something that's extremely painful, actually?
Yeah.
But I'm connecting with myself and my mind and my body, and like just a release. Like it's giving me so many things on all the different levels that you said. So
you pointed to one piece though, and that is about the systems we have in place. You don't have to love going to the gym to go, that's an important part of me taking care of myself. So I'm going to create a system where I do that. Yeah. And it may be that there's a workout class that you have to show up for that creates that. Or maybe you put your walking shoes right beside your bed. So when you get up in the morning, those shoes go on and it's time to go walking, but there's some system you have in place. I mean, if we could equate that in life, most people are like, I don't really want to go to work every day, but I'm going to go show up. I don't want to parent every day, but I'm going to continue doing that because those are important. So I've created systems, and I've had people say, I don't have any systems, and my response is that's a system. It's just not a good system. It's a failing system.
Right. Well, and you could put systems in place with your marriage too. Kids in bed, 8:00. We're meeting in the living room at this time, or,
Yep.
And that's effort. You don't have to, like you said, you don't have to look at it as like work. I love the word effort, not putting in the work. Dr. Lee, I feel like I could talk to you for another 2 hours on all of this and like dissect all of your books and everything. Tell me, where can people find you? Where can they follow you? We'll put everything in the show notes too, but I bet a lot of people are going to want to connect with you after this episode.
So let's focus on two different possibilities. One is I have a link, savethemarriage.com/podcast.
Okay.
We're on a podcast. So savethemarriage.com/podcast that actually has links to three different things. One is an assessment to go, where are we? What's the potential of our relationship? Okay. It's a very simple assessment. And it also links if people are like, oh my gosh, I know we're in a crisis and I want to work on that. That's the Save the Marriage system. The other is I've created an unpause app. So when you decide you want to unpause your relationship, it's designed for that. And that's not so much I've got to save my marriage as much as I want my marriage to start building again. And the app is designed to help guide people through that. There's a link to all three of those. If somebody says, no, you're right, I just need to unpause my marriage, unpauseyourmarriage.com will get you right to the app.
Okay. All right. So is this app like interactive? Does it give you suggestions of like what to do? And this is day one. And
yeah. So it has a combination. It has a morning piece. So back to system, it has a morning piece of how do I want my day to go? There's some training elements to it, some assessment to it. There's a feedback loop. When you turn in your homework, it automatically gives feedback on that. Okay. And then there's an evening, how did it go? So we can set up for the next day. Not how did it go like you need to feel bad about yourself as much as how did it go? If it didn't go well, let's set up better for tomorrow.
Yes. Collect data.
Collect data.
It's like people getting on the scale. I'm like, don't let it make you mad,
no,
sad,
that's not
happy,
punishment.
Anything. No, we're just collecting data. We just need to know, did it work or did it not work?
It's called reality. Let's face what reality is, and then we can choose what we're going to do from there.
Exactly. Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. Okay, all the links we'll put in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I think this has just been great and such a good time of year too, for people to really, like, if you're going to start and you're ready for this year to be, new and a fresh start and just unpause so many things in your life, like, well, why not your marriage and your relationship too? So thank you for coming on. This was a true blessing to the
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Everyone, check out the show notes. Stay safe, stay healthy. Until next time. The Baucom Life podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The content shared here is not intended as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any health, fitness, financial, or legal decisions. The opinions shared on this podcast are personal experiences and insight. So if you need expert guidance, go find the right professional for you. Thanks for listening.
This is the new Weight Watchers. It works for members like JoJo, who's learning simple, healthy habits, Sharia, who's making progress with meds, and Kim, who still gets to eat what she loves. For over 60 years, we've helped millions of members find what works for them. Now, it's your turn. Watch your life open up. Watch your story shift. Watch what you're capable of. Watch it work. Get started today at WeightWatchers.com.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.